Life is not easy. You are not broken, even though it may feel like you are. Broken means that it can't be fixed. And you can be exactly what you desire to be. And no matter what kind of dark crevice that you're in your life, there is a way out. Hi, I'm Michelle Thompson, and I am a cognitive therapist, an NLP practitioner, a hypnotherapist, and a transformational life coach. And I specialize in helping people get outside of that dark room. I too was in the dark room, and I'm here to help you overcome those issues. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start this whole thing with talking about depression. So, what exactly is that? And how do you overcome it? Or can you overcome it? Well, all I can do is tell you my story and how I overcame that depression and kind of show you what I do with my clients and how I've helped other people get past that depression as well. So it's not a life sentence, even though you might have been told by a physician of sorts that this is a life sentence, you have to take these medications, you're doomed for life. It's actually not the case because I've worked with people over a certain period of time and taught them what I learned, and the depression was gone. Let's kind of start with my story first, and then we'll kind of work into what can you do about it. So first off, my name is Michelle Thompson, and I grew up in a state of depression because when I was little, my mom used to roll my hair in curlers. I'm showing my age here, but she would roll my hair in curlers, and I'd have these long little ringlets coming down, and she'd dress me up in these beautiful little dresses, and people would stop and say, "Oh, that's the prettiest little girl." But when I started to develop and I started going through puberty, I grew very fast, and the little girls around me had straight hair and I had curly hair, and I would go outside for recess, which we had every day, and I lived in Houston, Texas, so lots of humidity, and my hair would just expand and blow up, and it looked like a big fuzzball on top of my head. So the children started calling me treetop because I was as tall as a tree and my hair was as big as a tree. Some people thought that I was ugly and they would call me the goon. It was these really horrible names that I was being called. It was a lot of trauma. On top of that, I was raised in a very, very strong Protestant religion. The religion was actually called BMA Baptist, which is Bible Missionary Baptist. It's a lot more conservative than traditional Baptist. We couldn't mix swim. We couldn't wear shorts. We couldn't dance. There was a lot of rules. And so it was very difficult to fit in to anybody or anything unless I was hanging out with kids from the church, and we belonged to a very small country church in Tomball, Texas. My parents lived in Spring, and so they would have to drive, and I would go to a different school. Periodically, my parents would move, so I'd be in Cy-Fair or Spring or Cypress or different areas, and I was always being shuffled around in junior high. And I never could make those connections when the kids started getting bigger, right? The boys started catching up and the girls started filling out, and I would end up in another school. I was still holding on to that. Something's wrong with me. I'm deformed. Look at what I look like. People aren't going to like me. So I was an introvert. I was scared to death to make any kind of connections. And if I did, I'd cling on to them really tight, and that would scare them. And this went on until I got into high school, and finally my parents found a home that was I stayed in for all of my high school years. I started to come into, fruition of what I was going to look like. Wasn't so goonish looking anymore. Blow dryers and curling irons and straightening irons all started to come in, and I was able to make my hair look better. Not quite so frizzy. I didn't have to go to recess every day and let my hair expand. A lot of times we would just do some exercises in gym inside of the gym instead of going outside. So I was able to control what it looks like, learned how to work with makeup, and so I became a more attractive young person, but yet internally I was still believing I was the goon because nobody had really told me any different. My mom had told me while I was in high school that, here, take this cosmetology course, it's going to help you. So I did, and I graduated with my license. I started working in a hair salon. My parents ended up moving out of state, and I was by myself at the age of 18, living in an apartment alone and trying to figure out people, how to make friends, how to live in the world. And it was complicated. It was confusing. People weren't pointing at me and calling me names anymore. But I still believed. Even when I was in high school and I moved into a new school, I didn't know how to make friends because I was scared of everybody and I didn't know who to sit with at lunch. So what did I do? I would go to the library and I would sit in the library during, lunch because I didn't have a place to sit. I didn't have any friends. And if I tried to make friends, they really kind of pushed me away because of my religion. I wasn't allowed to do anything. I couldn't go to anybody's houses or hang out with them or go to the mall or do those things because my parents were very religious. The only people I could hang out with were people from the church. So it became complicated, to say the least, to be able to figure out how to make my way when I finally graduated and I've got an apartment of my own and I don't know how to make friends. And the depression just kept on kicking in. Every time I'd get to know somebody, I'd end up pushing them away somehow, scare them off somehow because of that darkness within me. And I would feel it just creeping over me in like this heaviness that I couldn't get out. I ended up having a couple of kids and they became my world. And I had a husband at the time that had no understanding of who I was or what I was about. And he struggled with who I was and how to even deal with me. And this became more and more challenging over time. I eventually blamed it on him, felt like my unhappiness was because of him, got a divorce, and started trying to find a way to make changes. Eventually, I would go into a bookstore and I would read all the self-help books. And eventually I found a book by Wayne Dyer who said, "You'll see it when you believe it." And I remember thumbing through the book and thinking, oh my God, this is my fault. It's all my fault. Oh my God, I didn't realize that I was the one causing these issues. So if I'm the one that created this, then I've got to be the one to fix it. So I started in this whole journey of trying to resolve this. How do I do this? How do I fix this? And it led me down a spiritual path, and it took me in all different directions. Then I met this crazy monk, and I actually wrote a book about this. So if you ever want to read this full transformation about this spiritual path that I took, it's called Be Your Own Hero by Michelle Thompson. Now, as I worked with the monk for many years, I ended up seeking out a new path. I started listening to, what I desired or what I liked or what I was interested in. And I really focused on doing that shadow work and getting to the core issues. I started taking a million different courses. And I ended up getting certified in these courses. And originally, when I took the courses, I didn't take them so that I would end up becoming this transformational life coach that healed people. I took it because I was trying to learn about myself and I was trying to figure it all out. I ended up learning about the neural pathways, neuroscience, hypnosis, NLP, cognitive therapy. And before I knew it, years later, I had all these different certifications and licensings and all this stuff that I decided that I was going to start applying and helping other people, because one day I woke up and it was gone. I remember my mind used to just go like 90 miles an hour. And I remember waking up one day and it was just gone. And I was thinking, oh my God, I have no thoughts right now. I remember waking up and not feeling that heaviness over me, that heavy cloud that seemed to saturate me. I remember waking up and smiling because the weather was nice. This podcast and what I'm going to be doing, what I'm going to be teaching, the Patreon account that I'm going to set up for you guys is going to be about making that transformation and showing you how to do it. Now, as we go along, there's going to be a part 1 and a part 2. So there may be me talking about a specific subject and then giving you some kind of tool. So that would be the part 2. Now, not all of the podcasts are going to be like that, but definitely if you see a part 1 and a part 2, then that usually means that this is going to be the exercise that relates to what we were talking about. We're going to be covering all different kinds of subjects, body dysmorphia, and that, is associated with depression, or just all these different things that causes the problems. For me, it was trauma, being made fun of, and having a very aggressive father who was very dominant and believed in, the belt. And years of me waking up as an adult in the middle of the night screaming because I was scared, and having, all this trauma just over and over and over again. So if I can get over all this trauma, and I haven't told you half of it, and I can get to a place where I'm peaceful and calm and feeling good, then you can as well. So I hope you enjoy. Follow me through this journey of helping you understand those darker shadows inside of you and how you can come outside of that dark room and into the light.